Lawson, you're sideways.
Wow. Look at that.
There we go. My boy. All right, we're back here. Jacob's Film Perspectives. That's so cringy. I hate that I have to say that, but I do. And we're here. And guess what we're talking about, fellas and gentlemen and ladies and women and everybody alike? We're talking about Dune Part 2. So with that being said, I'm Jacob, of course, Jacob's Film Perspective. It's been a few months, but I'm back. I took a little hiatus. I'm back. I've been doing reels, though. Before I start the show, I just wanted to preface with I've been doing out-of-theater reactions the last few months in lieu of being out of the podcast game or whatever lately. So go check those out. I have a TikTok now, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube Shorts, Jacob's Film Perspectives. It's on everything. They're just quick, out of theater. They're not fancy. They're not shot that well, unless Lawson's behind the camera. And it's just basically my out of theater reactions. It's nothing special. But anyway, definitely go check that out. I've been putting some effort into those, putting those reels. I did a review of Cinema Paradiso on my Instagram. Been doing a few more written reviews. I got away from that once the podcast started. I'm back doing that. And with that being said, cue the intro. If I'm checking my phone throughout, it's because Deontay and his brother should be joining us here in about 30 minutes. So actually about 15 now. So I'll be checking in with that. But yeah, right now it'll just be me and Lawson holding it down. And I said I was going to write notes for this, but then I was like, my show always does better unscripted. So I'm just going to go off the fly. We're going to talk about, of course, Dune 2. And yeah, I guess to start, the best way I can start it, I guess, is I'll give my experience of my association with the Dune lore and whatever. And that'll be, let me check my phone real quick for Deontay to come in. Okay. And yeah, so my stuff with Dune is I went and saw the first. I haven't read the books. It's been on my Amazon list for a while. I'm probably going to buy the book soon here and start reading it. So I don't have any knowledge of the source material, but I mean I have some obviously from watching YouTube videos. But I went and saw the first one in theaters in 2021. It brought me back to cinema because that was like the first big gigantic experience for me back in theaters after the whole COVID situation. So it was just like eye-opening for me. Stunning visuals, cinematography, all that. Denis Villeneuve's been one of my favorite directors since I got into film. Prisoners and Blade Runner 2049 are both in my top 30 films of all time. I was obsessed with, I have Blade Runner 2049 poster right here and over there. I got two posters in my background here. Denis Villeneuve has definitely been my guy for many years, since 2018 for sure. And that's when I really got discovered him. Enemy, Prisoners, Arrival, all those great. He was kind of one of the first him and Nolan were the first two directors I got into when I started to get into filmmaking and like wanting to be into film, was those two. And so I had to see Dune. I didn't know anything about the source material. Went and saw it, loved it. Tied for like my second favorite movie of that year. I've been waiting for this sequel it was supposed to come out last year. I'm so glad it didn't, because it would have made my list a lot harder last year with Oppenheimer and all those great movies. So I'm glad it got pushed back to 2024. And yeah, so that's kind of my experience with Dune. And Lawson, you can give yours.
I didn't even watch the first one. I know I was supposed to, but I didn't get to, but I still enjoyed the second one without that context.
Yeah, this guy, I told him to watch Dune, He didn't even watch it. He got like 10 minutes in and he said it wasn't for him. So I was very scared going into it. And then we on the car ride there to go see it last night, because I saw it last weekend. I saw it for a second time last night. Car ride there, I gave him the gist of everything and what went down. And really, as long as you know the gist of it, you can enjoy this movie. You don't have to see the first one. And even the director said that. Denis Villeneuve said you can watch this. You lose enough pieces throughout this film that you can watch this standalone. Yes, it's enhanced when you do have that first movie in your mind, but you don't. It's not absolutely necessary, but I would recommend it. And yes, so I mean, we got there, and here we are. It's it's been a long road, man. I've been waiting for this film for a long time. I think I was tripping on acid or something the first time I watched it because I had a few issues with it, and now it's just absolutely perfect in my mind. I think this is a perfect film. I would be shocked if this movie somehow did not make my number one of this year. I mean, if there's another movie as good as this movie that comes out this year, 2024 has been a damn good year for film, and I will be very happy for that. And yeah, I mean, it was just there's so much to dive into, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this without Deontay here, because I want him to be here when we dive into the main stuff. So I'm just kind of doing pre-stuff right now until he gets here, because I know he's super excited to talk about it. He's hype on the Dune train. I think he may have read the books. I'm not for sure on that. So he'll have some knowledge, lore too, and of course Lawson, this man. Then we watched the first one, so but he's got the good cinematography director expertise from that point. And
I'm gonna watch the first one now that I've seen the second one
yeah,
because I did enjoy the second one. That's a testament to this movie. You've got a guy like me who doesn't like new films, doesn't like science fiction films, and doesn't like long films, and I thought this was great.
let alone sequels too. I know you're not a big sequel guy either,
Mm-hmm.
and so I mean, testament to how great this film is. I guess we can go ahead. I mean, we both gave it 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. You can go follow us both on Letterboxd if you want. Lawson Filmworks, and mine is Jacob Smith 9817. And I should probably just make it the Jacob's Film Perspectives. I don't know why I made it different, but it's because it's my secret little letterbox. If you find it, you get a prize. I don't know what that prize is, but if I could get a prize for finding mine, I was just about to go somewhere dark, and I'm not going to do that on this show.
Let's not. Let's do
It's
that in private.
it's my first one back. It's been 2 months. I'm not gonna go crazy on you guys yet. I may get a little loopy here because I mean there's so much to cover. Oh my god. It's just I've been watching videos on this for a week. So much to cover, and I'm also not the greatest host. Usually Deontay's the host of this, and I'm like the guy that just splurs out movie knowledge. And I don't have to do the hosting too. So right now I'm doing the hosting too. So bear with me on that. It's been about 4 months since I've hosted, and I know it's my show technically, but Deontay is actually the real runner here. He's the real man in charge. But do you have any so Denis Villeneuve, I know you've seen Blade Runner 2049. Have you seen any of his others?
I don't think so, but just from what I've seen, he's got a lot of talent. I mean, him, Chris Nolan, and what's the one we were talking about yesterday? Damien Chazelle. Those are kind of the three guys running the business now that actually have talent.
Yeah,
Done a lot of good work in the past few years.
yeah, those three definitely are the top three easily. Working to new directors of the new age. Of course, we still have Scorsese. We still have some of the greats. Still Michael Mann. We still have a few of the legends.
We got Fincher still. He does pretty good
Fincher.
work.
Yeah, I really like The Killer of the last year. Yeah, so I mean, Denis Villeneuve, he's making a stance for getting right there with Nolan, and yeah, I mean,
I really
it's
know
just
nothing about the guy. Is he French?
yeah, he's French, and what else? I'm pretty sure he's French, and let's see what else here. Uh, I'll look him up real quick. Might as well.
You're the new director expert. If you want to talk old directors, I could go on for
He's
an
French
hour.
Canadian, so he's actually French Canadian. Shocking. Okay, so he's for some reason I thought he was French, but he's French Canadian. It says right here on Google he's a Canadian filmmaker, but it says French Canadian. So, man, Canada. Wow, great director from Canada. Shocking. Just kidding. No hate to Canada people, but yeah, I mean, he's out of Canada. If you haven't seen his movies, the rest just go through his whole filmography. His whole filmography is perfect. His I've only seen his English films. He has a few foreign language films that came out before. His big one that came out, his first English one, I think, was Enemy in 2013. Stars Jake Gyllenhaal. Trippy movie, creepy, surreal movie, really dark and seedy. I love that one. It's still one of my favorites of his. And then after that, he did Prisoners, which is one of my top 30 favorite films of all time. And then he did Arrival, and then Blade Runner 2049. No, I missed one. He did Sicario, then Arrival, then Blade Runner 2049, then Dune, then Dune Part Two. So he hasn't made like a ton of American films, but he's made quite a bit. And all of them I would put. I haven't seen Arrival since it came out, so 7, 8 years ago. So it's been a while. I need to rewatch Arrival, but the rest I've rewatched. So, and all of them, I'd probably say all of them are my favorites in some way or another. Sicario is a great action thriller. Prisoners, one of the best dramas ever made. Enemy, a great creepy kind of movie like I like. Has a lot of dark undertones. And Blade Runner 2049, I cried twice
That was a
watching
good
it.
one.
I saw it in theaters twice, and the ending made me cry both times in theaters when I saw that. I mean, I even got those posters. I love Blade Runner 2049. It's almost in my top 10 of all time. It's right there. It may be in my top 10 on some days. I haven't rewatched it since theaters, though, because I value my theater experience with it so much that I'm afraid to taint it by watching it at home.
I
But I
watched it
do love it.
a few months ago. I watched the first one and I didn't like it, and I watched the second one. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when Ridley Scott directed the first Blade Runner, who's art. He is a legend, whether you like him or not, or his new work, Napoleon, my God. But he's had some masterpieces for sure, and the fact that Denis Villeneuve outdid him with a sequel to his own film is absolutely insane. That I mean, that shows how much is how good he is. And they said this about Dune. They said Dune was like a un uh, untappable story. Like you could not make a film out of this. Like it was impossible to make a film out of this. Like David Lynch tried in the 80s, failed critically and commercially. It was a huge box office bomb. It wasn't great. And I
Have
mean,
you seen it?
yeah, I still haven't watched it. I mean, I don't really plan to. I mean, I might if I get curious, but when I have these films, it's like, what's the why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's super long too, and I think that film is like this. This is part one and part two. That film is just one film, so I'm pretty sure it's like 3 hours, and it's trying to force everything we see in these two films into that one film. So, and it's David Lynch, and I love David Lynch, but I just don't think Dune is the right material for him to cover. It's not
Yeah.
his type. It's not his type of thing. So will I watch it? Maybe, I don't know. But so especially after that failed, they were like, "Oh, this will never be made into a film series. You cannot do it because there's so much lore. It's so layered. There's so many themes. I mean, it is massive." But Denis Villeneuve, that man somehow he just locked in and he fucking went nuts. I mean, dude adapted it perfectly, I think. From what I've read, it's very faithful to the books. I mean, there are some changes, obviously, but you have to do that when going from book to film. And I think a lot of people that read the books are actually very happy with it. And from what from the audience I've engaged with of the books have told me, or I've read or told me. So, I mean, that's a good testament. And not only that, but I feel like this had to been like, apparently he's been working on this since he was a kid. Apparently he loved these books since he was a kid, from what I heard from another podcast I watched. So shout out to There Are Too Many Movies. That's a great podcast. I'm going to shout out another podcast on my podcast, but shout out to them. They're great, hilarious podcast. I love those guys over there. There Are Too Many Movies. But I was watching their review of Dune Part Two, and they were saying how him and a childhood friend basically were obsessed with making this into a film since they were kids. Like they've been trying to write a script for it since they were little kids. And apparently Denis finally did it. And his friend, they said his friend became like something else, I guess. His friend got out of filmmaking, but Denis stuck with it, and here he is. I mean, he accomplished.
That's probably why he did so good. He had years and years to figure out what he wanted, and he wanted to do it right.
Yeah, and I've been seeing a lot of things on Letterboxd, and a lot of people are comparing this is our generation's Star Wars, our generation's Lord of the Rings, like the big event sci-fi films that you go and see. I'm old, so the Lord of the Rings is kind of my generation too, because it came out when I was a little kid. So that's kind of my generation, but it is the new generation's Lord of the Rings for sure. It's an epic saga, epic tale, spanning over 3 movies, most likely. And it might be the best out of the 3 by the end of the 3rd movie. We'll have to see. I mean, that's a big statement. I haven't watched the Lord of the Rings movie since I was in middle school, so I don't remember much, but I plan to rewatch them. But yeah, I think Dune could top them. And I'm just happy this generation that didn't watch the Lord of the Rings films actually has those to like enjoy and like experience this in the theater. Like you have to go see this in theaters. I feel like yeah, you can watch it at home later, stream it. A lot of people wait for streaming. I think this is one, if you don't go to the theater often, go to the theater for this one. See it in the best screen, the biggest screen, the best sound you can possible. Around here, we're in nowhere, Missouri, so the best thing we have is Super Screen DLX, which is a Dolby Cinema technically, and it has good audio, but it's enhanced for sure. And it is a good, like, the seats do rumble a little bit in some of the scenes, but it's not IMAX. It's not anything like that. But I mean, see it in the best possible you can. IMAX if you have it. I mean, I couldn't imagine seeing this in IMAX. I would probably have a movie orgasm and die. So
you can tell it was made to be a powerful cinema experience. It's always the best way to watch these kind of movies.
Yeah, and I mean, even him and Chris Nolan, they did an interview with each other. They were interviewing each other because Chris Nolan re-released Tenet in IMAX, and I was watching an interview, and they both said how important it is to see these films in theaters and like these big films like this. And it is so true. It's so immersive. I mean, the score, everything about it just hits different in a theater. Like that Hans Zimmer score in a theater is heavenly. The score alone.
I've been listening to it all day.
I swear, the score alone is worth the movie ticket price. Like it is honestly one of Hans Zimmer's best scores. I think the first movie, a lot of people love the score for the first movie, and I've listened to it a little bit when it came out, but I think he went way above and beyond with this score. I think he topped himself completely on this one with the score for it. It is just really my favorites is a Time Between the Storms is a great track, and a Warm Ride I think is what it's called. Worm Ride or Warm Ride? Worm Ride is
Worm. Yeah, they were riding worms.
Worm Ride is a great track too. So yeah, go to Apple Music, Spotify, stream this after you see the movie. Because I mean, give Hans Zimmer all the love. I think he should get an Oscar for best score.
I think he will. If that's one prediction I would make, I think he will.
And actually, while we're talking about this right now, the Oscars is going on as we speak. Which who cares? Why watch the Oscars when you can watch two guys talk about a film?
At least we won't lecture the public.
Yes, two guys, and about to be 3 or 4 guys talking about a film. I mean, come on, screw the Oscars. Watch me. I'm better. This is cinema talk, okay? The Oscars mean nothing to you. I am your messiah. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not. I am not Paul. Although I am kind of pulling a Paul. You know what? I'm not going to say this about myself, but I am going to say this about myself. I kind of have Paul vibes. I feel like I could play Paul. Me and Timothy Chalamet, we kind of have the same kind of we're pale, skinny white dudes. I feel like we could. I feel like I'm not saying I look like Timothy Chalamet. I'm not saying that. I know I'm like a 6 at best, ladies. But
you just want to kiss Zendaya, like all of us.
Well, you know, I'm not gonna deny that. I'm not gonna say yes to that either. But yes, actually. But yeah, I mean, but I think I could play Paul, honestly. I have that look. I mean, I even got my hair is kind of doing a Paul thing today. It's crazy curly. So I think I could be Paul in Dune. So yeah, if they ever redo Dune, you get whatever director, if you ever somehow come across this, you should cast me as Paul. And then cast somebody like Zendaya as Chani, and then we can be together. But it's getting weird, and we just started, and
I gotta grab a phone charger real quick.
This is what happens on Jacob's stream, you know. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys here. I want to make this a more conversational podcast. I'm tired of all the movie jargon. Because sometimes I feel like I get too much in the movie jargon, and you guys probably are just bored out of your mind. It's just like I say, like, oh, the camera is the cinematography, the way they did this angle, and like that's great for movie lovers. But I feel like I want to be more personable. I want to add some more jokes in there, more flavor. I want to make it more entertaining because I feel like I'm boring to listen to, and I probably still am boring to listen to. Like, I probably will only get a few views on this. You know, who knows? A few listens on Spotify, but you know what? Listen to my southern drawl talk about Dune and enjoy that. Okay? Listen to Lawson talk about his beautiful cinematography skills. I don't know. Listen to Deontay here in a minute join in and talk about his love of the MCU. But you know what? We're just gonna have fun. We're winging it here. We're just winging it today. And
hey, we can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for Deontay here. Deontay says, you guys are getting a stream from Deontay right now. Update. He just got his food, so he's gonna be a little later. What a guy. What a guy. He just bailed on me. I'm just kidding. Deontay should be here. Will may be joining us as well. Good boy, Will. I just cussed on this stream earlier, apparently, because my mom just texted me language, sir. So apparently I've been saying curse words. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom. I'm sorry, Mom. Hi, Mom. I'm sorry.
You better fucking apologize.
This is what your son has become. But yep, I'm over here talking about Dune. But talking about a sci-fi movie on a podcast. You know what? I have a college degree, and I guess that's all that matters in life, right? But yeah, So since Deontay's gonna be a little late, I guess we're gonna just dive into it, and Deontay can add his thoughts. And Will is saying he may not be able to now, so it's basically sabotaged. I've been sabotaged, and yeah, so me and Lawson are gonna run this thing for a while. So, Dune Part Two. Where do we start?
This is just what happens when great director, great script, great actors, great cinematographer, composer. It just all came together with this one.
Yeah,
This is a great cinema immersive experience. I can see a lot of. I don't know if the director has seen Lawrence of Arabia. He almost have to because you can see so much influence. I don't know if you've seen that, but you can see so much influence on the desert scenes.
I still have
And
not seen
it brought me back to the old cinema in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, Denis, when he can, he's like Christopher Nolan. He tries to keep it in camera as much as possible. When they do visual effects, this is actually something cool I learned when they do the visual effects, they try to base it off of something in reality. So like when the sand is vibrating in the film, they actually like vibrated sand and they wanted to see what it actually looked like before they added the visual effects of it. I mean, that sounds like so minuscule and like, oh, why would you? That's just a stupid thing. But like, this is how much he cared about the detail. He wanted everything to feel real. He didn't want anything to feel like you're looking at something fake. He wanted it to be where like you're looking at something real. And like even I learned this giant worms on Arrakis, the sandworms, their teeth. Apparently, they studied like I forgot what they studied.
It looked like a lamprey.
They studied the throat of like a certain singer. Like there's a certain like I think it may have been opera singer, maybe a throat of some certain singer, and the way it moves, and that's how they made the sandworm's mouth move is just like that. Like they try to take like human elements and put it into even just like the sandworm. They did crazy stuff like that to make the visual effects feel realistic and like in reality, and try to make it as in camera as possible. I mean, the visual effects are flawless, perfect. They were in the first film as well, but I think they're even topped in this one. I mean, there was not one scene where I'm looking at it and I'm like, yeah, they're on a set. Like I believed it the whole time. I did. There was not one moment where I was like, yeah, this is fake. This is not real. And I mean, obviously, a lot of it is visual effects. I mean, you have to, but that's the purpose. And okay, the budget of this movie, I'm gonna get the exact budget here because I just want to make a point with the budget here. I'm not hating on Marvel when I do this, by the way. When you people, I don't want any Marvel fans coming at me. All right,
They can come at me.
come at Lawson. He lives at. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna give his address, but where's the budget? Tell me the budget, sir. Bill Gates, 190 million. So okay, this was made 190 million. Okay, now let's look up a movie. I'm just thinking about a Marvel movie I've seen in the most recent one, Ant-Man and Quantumania. Okay, let's see the budget for that. 275 million. Okay, so that's almost 100 million more than what Dune Part 2 got. This puts that movie to shame, and this Marvel should watch this and feel ashamed of themselves for like wasting all that money on what? Like where did that money go? Because this film is perfect visual effects. Ant-Man, Wasp, Quantumanium. I saw it in theaters, so I can say this. I'm not just dogging Marvel to dog Marvel. Sorry, Disney. Don't try to Mickey Mouse. Don't try to kill me. I'm sorry, but the CGI in that movie is awful. Terrible CGI. I mean, it is goofy. It is awful, and it's almost cost 100 million more. How is that possible? And that just shows you that throwing money at everything doesn't fix everything. You need great filmmakers, great visual effects people. You need the time. You need to take time. You can't just push it. And that's the other thing. He storyboarded. He is a huge Denis Villeneuve. I watched the interview with him. He's a huge fan of storyboarding everything. Like he says, even sometimes before he does the script, he'll do the storyboard because he feels like he has to see it.
That's the way I do it.
Adriana Sanchez said the money went in my wallet. Well, Adriana, you know what? Guess what? If the money went in your wallet, can you give me some money, please? Please? That would be nice.
Yeah, we're working on a movie. We need funding.
Yeah, we have a movie in the works. I'll add that at the end. I'll talk about that maybe at the end. But what I can say anyway. And yeah, like it's insane to me that Marvel 100 million more, and it looks god awful. Like I'm at, and I love the MCU. I'm at Avengers Endgame is on my letterbox top 4. Like okay, like it's one of my favorite films of all time. So you can't call me an MCU hater, but this shows exactly why. What'd you spend it on? Let me know. But this explains exactly why you just need a great filmmaker, a great visual, like I said, I'm sorry I'm ADHDing out here. I was talking about storyboarding. He storyboards a lot. Like even before he's finished with the script, he was talking about this. Even when he's like not even done with the rough draft, he will start storyboarding things out because he can see things and that helps him. And like he makes sure before they shoot anything, he draws it before they shoot anything. Like it is, that's why they have these books called The Art and Soul of Dune, and they have another one called Art and Soul of Dune Part Two. Almost bought one last night. Probably gonna buy both of them, and that'll show the artwork. But he drew out a lot of these scenes before they even shot it. Like he made sure every time they turned on that camera, there was purpose to the shot. And now these movies like MCU and stuff, it's a movie by committee. So like no, it's not one vision. It's not like all these people coming together to create a vision. They're like, oh, we can fix that in post. We can send that down to this studio to work on these special effects. This studio is doing all this stuff. And it's just, and when you do that, you don't have communication. You don't have that connection. So it's just all spread out, and the director is just shooting crazy stuff. They're on a time limit, and that's how you get these poor CGI products and these poor stories. And if you just give the filmmakers time to come together and actually trust the filmmaking process, and that's my whole. I'm going on a long spiel here, but that's my whole purpose of what I'm saying is just trust the filmmakers and give the money to them and just let them cook. All right, let them do it. Like it's not that hard. I don't get that, but studios really need to just learn that, especially with this movie. Hopefully studios are starting to learn. As huge as this movie's become huge, like I just saw it's like one of the top rated on IMDb. It's going crazy right now. Like it's going to make so much money at the box office. So like hopefully this movie is groundbreaking in the fact that it will show people, hey, we can spend 100 million less and get a much better product if we just trust the filmmakers, find these storytellers, and just make it all, let them have their vision, let them put it together, the love for film.
Well, film is a director's medium. I mean, that's where the director reigns supreme. And if you don't trust the director to follow his vision, then don't hire him. And I think you said he's the same with Nolan, where he only uses CG when he has to, which means they have more time to perfect the CG that they do use. And you know, we hate on CGI, but we only hate on bad CGI. If it's good, you don't even notice it.
Yeah, I mean, to tell the stories right and to tell them how they are. I mean, because you can go back and look at David Lynch's Dune and the visual effects. I've seen visual effects shots from it. You need CGI is a good thing when it's used right, because the practical effects they had in the 80s were not it. They couldn't do the visual effects were not it. So like we're in a time and place where we can have great visual effects. You just got to know what you're doing and obviously learn from this movie. Know what you're doing and it's not expensive. It doesn't have to be as expensive. 190 million is a lot, yes, but it's cheaper than 275 million and you got a much better product out of it. So I mean, yeah. Gave some to Dakota. Dakota Johnson needs it after Madam Web. God, that movie was awful. But Dakota Johnson, great actress. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's where I stand on the visual stuff of Dune. Do you have anything else about the visuals?
I mean, it's so grand in scale. It's like the scene where the giant worm comes and he has to jump on it. All those effects, it just made for like a really almost breathtaking sequence. So they used it right. You got to know how to use it right, and they certainly
Yeah,
did.
just the way, even the way he throws the hooks and he catches the worm, it feels like he's actually on an animal doing that. Like it
Hmm.
feels like he's putting a hook into skin. Like it feels like he's actually doing that. And that it's just insane to me how good these effects are in this movie. Like it deserves Oscar for best visual effects already. I don't think a movie will top this. I'm trying to think of any movies coming out that could. Probably not. So definitely not a Marvel movie. No offense to Marvel. I'm just step up your game. But
Marvel
yeah, and
sucks.
this guy's a superhero film hater, okay? I'm not. I'm not. I have a soft spot for the MCU. I always will. I grew up on it. But it's just not what it used to be. But this is about Dune. I'm not MCU is always a punching bag, and I'm not gonna get in the MCU hate anymore. But yeah, I mean this film just absolutely beautiful. The storytelling, I was talking to Lawson about this the other night. There's so many layers. Like it's just like real life. Like let's just, for example, when I talk about layers, let's just talk about Paul for a second. This man obviously loves Zendaya. Chani is her character, but we'll just say Zendaya for make it easier for people. Uh, and you could tell he loves her, but you can also tell that part of him wants the power. He wants to believe in he doesn't believe in the prophecy. He knows he's not the Messiah, but part of him wants the power, and he's using that to control these people and to get what he wants, while also helping out the Fremen at the same time. So yeah, he's helping out the Fremen. So he is doing good things, but he's also manipulating them because he's using them for his own good at the same time. It's just his own good actually helps the Fremen too. But he wouldn't like he's not 100% great character. Like our protagonist we're following, you're not sure. He goes back and forth. He's good. He's not. He's a complicated human being, just like we are in real life. It's not. Oh, he's the 100% superhero good guy. He does everything great. He's complicated. Like he obviously loves Zendaya, but I mean, we can talk spoilers here because it's been a week. But this is a spoiler review, by the way. He's gonna marry the princess, played by Florence Pugh's character, just because that benefits him and what he's trying to do. Even though he loves Zendaya, he'd rather marry
Uh, he
Florence Pugh.
he gave up the woman he loved for the power, which is what he said he wasn't going to do at the beginning.
Yeah, you see this man, you see him slowly become corrupted by power. Where in the first part of the movie, he's very, even in Timothy Chalamet's performance, he's more chill and laid back. But then once he starts to, especially when he drinks the water of life, they call it, and it's really worm piss, but water of life, and they he finds out that he's actually the grandson of Baron Harkonnen. He's like, you know what, we're gonna use that. And he starts to act like a tyrant at the end. I mean, he comes into the giant prayer circle that's like sacred, and he just steps in the middle of it and says, "Who's going to challenge me? I am the one." Like, he's fully going into this role as Messiah because he wants to win the war. He wants to get revenge for his father's death. And that's messed up. Yeah, that is really messed up. Warm piss. Oh, you're talking about fake love. Oh,
Fake
okay. You're
love.
talking about the love thing. Oh, okay. Well, the worm piss is messed up too. But Zendaya, yes, Zendaya, her best role by far. I've loved Zendaya since she was on Shake It Up on Disney as a little kid. So I've had a crush on Zendaya for a decade, but over a decade. But yeah, Zendaya, her performance is so great. And the way she acts, this film is basically all reaction based. Like, yeah, there's dialogue, but a lot of this film is just like seeing the characters' facial expressions. A lot is told through facial expressions in this movie, and Zendaya is a perfect example of that. Most of her best scenes, she's not even saying a word. She's just so good at showing that emotion on her face. Especially like the end scene gives me goosebumps
Mhm.
every time when she's sitting there on top of the mountain and she's waiting for the worm to come, and you see her pull out the hooks, and then you just see her face, and then it cuts to black, and then that's the end of the movie. It ends on her character and her face, and you're like, oh, what is she gonna? And obviously, she's probably gonna do her own revolution, and probably her and Paul are gonna come at odds in the next film, most likely. But in the throne room scene, it's just like when she's just like her facial reactions when Timothy Chalamet says he's gonna go with Florence Pugh, the princess. Just her face just gave me goosebumps.
Just gutted, yeah.
You can just see the pain and just guts, but you can also see her anger at the same time. Like, you can see both. I mean, what do you think about it? Like, when it comes to that,
The facial expression acting, or
just the
what did you?
performance, any performance you thought you liked,
Oh, the
anything.
performance. Yeah,
That's
I think
fine.
she did great. I loved. I think Josh Brolin did good. Really liked him. Said he was, telling him, "Hey, take this power. We can, you know, achieve what we want to achieve and use it to our advantage." And he fights it at first. I like
Yeah,
Javier Bardem as just the guy with all the faith. Just everything he does, the dude could sit there and take a piss, and he'd be like, "As the prophecy said."
has written. Yes.
Yeah,
Let's shout out to Javier Bardem for the ultimate hype man. He is the ultimate hype man in this movie. They're making memes out of him on the internet, and he is the comedic relief in this movie for sure. He's just the religious extremist, and every time anything Paul does, and even when Paul's like, "I'm not the Messiah," and he's saying he's not. He's like, "That's exactly what the Messiah would do. He'd be humble like that."
yeah.
And it's just there's a lot of humor with that for sure.
There's a lot of religious, parallels to this in real life. You got believers versus non-believers. You've got holy wars starting. Uh, you know, there's political deals where they're trying to get the spice, and they're just worried. They don't care what they have to do to people to get the production, which is how big business runs in the world. They don't mind stepping on people to make money and get power. It's a lot of parallels to that to real life.
Yeah, like this movie has like we were talking about layered themes back. I know we're jumping back and forth here, but this is not. If you want like a real review, like a step by step, through by through, you can watch a YouTube essay. This is more just dudes chilling talking about Dune. But we can the layers of it are just like there's so much with like religion, there's romance, there's
Adventure.
politics, adventure. There's everything you want in a film is in this film and in the epic, and you just believe in it. Like, it's all so well done, all layered, and like I'll say this. This kind of spoiling my reel that I'll be posting in a few days. I'm gonna do I'm posting a re-review of Dune in a few days because when I came out the first time, I gave this movie an A, 4 out of 5, almost an A minus. I had a few issues with it. My two friends I saw it with, they both give it an A plus. They're like, this movie is perfect. How do you see any issues with it?" And then I don't know what mood I was in. And even when I got home, I was looking at the reviews and I was seeing like all these 5 stars on Letterboxd and like all these great reviews, and I'm just like, yeah, but I mean, there's some issues here. And then I thought about the issues and I kept thinking about them. And then when I went and rewatched it last night for the second time, I literally I was looking. I was like, okay, I have these issues, and I was looking for them, and I was looking for issues actively, and I was like, because on rewatch, I already have the story, and I can kind of view it from on a second viewing, you can kind of watch it more critically because you're not swept by the story. I mean, you are, especially with this film, but you can kind of see from the different perspective. You can look at those if there's any issues, and all my criticisms were completely just blown out of the water as soon as I rewatched it. I was like, oh, what was I thinking? When I got out of the theater, I was like, that's a 5 out of 5. That's a masterpiece. That's an A plus. What was I thinking? This is everything I want a film to be. How did I have these issues? And the issues I had were the fight with Fade. I thought was too short. And the first time I watched it, but now it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. It is a perfect length. If it wouldn't went on any longer, it would have been like a regular action movie. It went on because this movie is not about action. Yeah, there's a lot of action scenes in it, but at the end of the day, it's more about the emotions, the themes, the characters. It's more characters based than action based. Because we have this huge scene, and this is one of my other issues: a huge, gigantic battle, tons of extras, CGI, all the works, and you only get to see a little bit of it. Most of it takes place in rooms, actually, while the battle's taking place. Most time we're in rooms. It's because we're seeing it from the characters we're following's perspectives. We're not seeing it from outside actions perspective. We're following everything is from a character's perspective where you're seeing it. And my first watch, I had an issue with that. I was like, why would you use all these extras and do all this if you're not going to show the gigantic battle? But then I got it on the second watch. I was like, oh, well, this is a character story. If we're seeing it from these characters' perspectives, this is how it would look. You wouldn't see all the battle. You wouldn't see all that. And it shows just enough of it to satisfy that action, but it knows a perfect stopping point. It stops perfectly. So those two issues completely gone on rewatch. And then my other thing was, I felt like there's so many characters are balancing that there's a few Fade and Florence Pugh's character wasn't developed well, but really for the middle film they were for what their purpose was in this film they were. They'll probably get more in the next. Well, not Fade obviously, but Florence Pugh's character definitely will get more in the next film. And overall, if there would have, I was thinking about the movie, if they showed any more Fade, he may have become gimmicky in a way because he is kind of a psychopath and he is, but they show him enough and it's perfect. And any more would have been gimmicky to me. And it's even him is layered because he's a psychopath, but you see in battle that he respects a battle. When he dies, he's he still says basically a good fight, even though he's dying. He's a psychopath and he's dying, but he's even good fight Atreides. He's even, and during when we get introduced to him in the Colosseum, they drug the people he's supposed to be fighting, but they didn't drug one. His uncle didn't drug one. And once he figures out he's not drugged, he takes off his shield and he wants to fight the man one-on-one. And he respects the art of the fight. He respects the battle. And so even him, he's layered. He's not just this crazy psychopath. He has these standards still. And it's just insane. Just all the layers.
I think the only scene that I thought they could have cut was the one where he gets seduced by the one woman, because it never really came up again or added anything to the story. But it didn't. That scene being there didn't take away from anything, but it just added something that didn't really need to be added, I thought. But that's my only gripe, I would say, with the movie overall.
Yeah. And like I love that scene because it's the way it's shot, where like the fireworks are happening and we're inside
Mhm.
because on the Harkonnen planet it's the black sun, so it's all in black and white. The ultra because it's just ultraviolet, and they actually shot this with they actually created infrared cameras just to shoot that sequence. Like they created like new technology just to shoot that, and they shot infrared, and the studio didn't want him to keep it black and white, and they were fighting with him about it, from what I read. And he told the studio, "I'm not cutting this out of the movie. This is staying in the movie. If we shoot this, this is going to be shot. And since we're shooting with these infrared cameras, it's going to be shot black. It's going to be black and white. It's not going to be like that." Was like he stood up to the studio on that point, and like it works out because it's good because the movie is so brown because we're in the sand and with all the sand, it's a good visual uh, counterbalance to just go to black and white. It kind of, for your eyes, the whole movie you're seeing sand and brown tones and all this. It's a good counterbalance to just have like a whole sequence in black and white. And then when he's in the hallway and you just see the fireworks and the lights and it just shines on the girl's face and his face. And it shows just how crazy the Bene Gesserit are as well, that scene. They send these women out here to basically mate with these guys just so they can keep power and keep control.
I wonder if that will come up in the third movie. His son.
Yeah, I feel like it will. I feel like that'll come up.
If it does, then I would see why they added it.
I feel like they will. There'll be something there. I feel like, hopefully. No, the worm piss is okay if it's the life of water. I don't know nothing about it. Okay, if it's it's the life water. Yeah, baddie Zendaya. Yeah, Zendaya is indeed a baddie. But yeah, they will. Okay, I hope so. But
Did she read the book to know that?
yeah, did you read the book, Adriana? I don't think she did.
She's too busy simping over Zendaya over here.
Number one Zendaya fan. Yes, obviously. But you know what? She's mine. No, I'm just kidding. I'll take Jenna Ortega. Shout out Jenna Ortega. She said no. Okay, so you don't even. She's just saying it to say it. But shout out Jenna Ortega. Are you single, Jenna? You're single. You know what? I used to. My show's known. This is going completely off of topic of Dune, but we're just gonna have a little segment here called Jacob's Jenna Ortega shooting his shot at Jacob is shooting his shot at Jenna Ortega. I can't even word it right. Yeah, Jenna Ortega, hit your man up. Jacob's film perspectives on everything. You should, we could collaborate. I would like to collaborate with you. Collaborate. No, I'm just kidding. I respect women. I would like to collaborate with you, Jenna Ortega. You're a great actress. I would love to work on a film with you. And yeah, this is also me shooting my shot at the same time, though. And I could be your man. But anyway, we'll do the A24 plug over here too. Also, A24. Hey man, I just bought a shirt from you. Now I have an A24 shirt. Now I have an A24 jacket, A24 socks, A24 sweater, A24 long sleeve shirt. I watch all your movies. I push your content everywhere on my pages. I mean, A24, hire me. I could be the next Steven Spielberg, okay? A24, just hire me. Just give me a project because, okay, this is my plea to Jacob's plea to A24. I need to make it. I think the next show I will have a graphic called Jacob is begging A24 segment because that's what I'm doing right now. A24, hire me. Jenna Ortega, call me. All right, let's get back to Dune. Jenna would love me more preying on your downfall. You know what? A lot of people are preying on my downfall, and that's okay. I'm still here, and yeah, I'm trying to think what else. And there's so much to talk about. I'm sorry for the pausing, but like, there's if you've watched Dune, you'll understand because like there's so much to cover here. Like, it's insane. This world, it's insane. It is so well thought out. It is crazy layered. Is there anything you were thinking of particular that you wanted to add on?
That was it. They never use the warheads they found, did they? Of his dad's, the whole vault. Did those ever come back into play?
I want to say they didn't, unless they shot those missiles at the Emperor's ship.
I was wondering, is that what they used? So it didn't really clarify that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what they used or not, but if they haven't come into, they will now actually because all the houses basically said no, we're not going to accept this. The houses are coming after him. So, and he said, let's take him to the Green Paradise. So yeah, he's probably going to use them on all the houses now in the next film. And apparently, as far as the next film, anyone wondering, Denise said he's like in the early stages, like the script is early, like he's just thinking about it right now. So it may be, I don't know. This movie came out 2.5 years after the first one. Could be 5 years. I mean, who knows? So we'll see. And I mean, I'm willing to wait because this film is perfectly enough for right now for me. Like I can watch this film again. Like I've seen it twice already. Like I'm definitely going to be rewatching this. I need to rewatch the first one. I've been meaning to do that as well. I haven't seen the first one since theaters, but I've already seen this one more than the first one. So obviously I like this one more than the first one. And first one is a good origin, setting up the world. The first one has the task of setting up the houses, the world, introducing us to it all. So it doesn't have as much freedom to roam with the characters because it has to do so much setting up. So it's not fair to the first one in some ways to compare that. But people are calling this Denis Villeneuve's Empire Strikes Back. I'm gonna say it. My friend said it to me last week when we watched it, and I was like, "You guys are crazy. You guys are nuts. How can you talk about this like that?" This film is better than The Empire Strikes Back. They call it Denis Villeneuve's Empire Strikes Back. I would say it's better than Empire Strikes Back. Which is like people are gonna say, "Oh, you're just the new generation." I grew up on the original Star Wars trilogy. My dad was a huge fan. He saw them in theaters growing up, and then he pushed that love onto me. I watched the VHSs constantly. Like I have so much love for that trilogy. It's in my top 5 favorite trilogy. I love the Star Wars trilogy, the original trilogy, of course, only. And I actually love the prequel trilogy too. Actually, I mean, because that was my childhood too. Those came out when I was growing up. Little kid. I mean, Revenge of the Sith is still one of my favorite Star Wars films in general. I mean, it came out when I was in first grade, and it was just amazing. But this film is better than Empire Strikes Back. Sorry, James and Trent, for fighting you on that last week. Because yeah, you guys were right. This is definitely better than Empire Strikes Back for sure. And to call it Denis Villeneuve's Empire Strikes Back, I think it's a good fitting. It's fitting, but I think it's better than The Empire Strikes Back. And that's just me. And I know, Lawson, you haven't really watched Star Wars, so
I've watched enough to know I don't like it.
Yeah. You're not big on the sci-fi. And that's another testament to this movie. Lawson's not a big sci-fi guy. Not big on, like, obviously Marvel, MCU, stuff like that. He's not big on anything nerd culturist in that way. He likes film, obviously, but, like, the nerdy side of stuff, like the sci-fi superhero stuff, he's not a huge fan of, but he loved this film. I mean, that's a testament to this film.
I figured I would hate it, but I went in with an open mind, and I was happy I did.
I was scared. I was scared to death when you told me you didn't even make it through the first one, because you said you didn't even make it through the first 10 minutes. I was like, oh my god. I was like, I was like, this movie is almost 3 hours. I was like, is he gonna get up and leave? Like, is he gonna leave me in the theater? Like, because he was my ride last night. So I was like, oh, am I gonna have to walk all the way home? Like, I was scared. I was like, is he gonna hate this? And like, I didn't push on him at all. I just told him the gist, and I let him. I didn't try to imprint on him at all. And even if I did, he would just tell me to go somewhere. So like, I mean, I couldn't. So like, it's not. He had no influence by me whatsoever, and he absolutely loved it. So I mean, that is a testament to this film, that even somebody that doesn't like sci-fi usually, doesn't like superhero films, loves this movie and thinks it's a perfect film. 10 out of 10. I mean, that is insane. This movie is a feat of filmmaking. This is obviously, I've seen some people say this is one of the best cinematic achievements so far in the last 20 years. I could see that.
Yeah.
Just for what it does, not just for the Dune franchise itself, but what it shows for, like, what we talked about, like CGI effects, gigantic storytelling, a bunch of lore, stories people thought were unadaptable. I mean, for what it does, I feel like it is a very important film in other ways too, for all that stuff as well.
That's when somebody says it can't be made into a film, that's where a lot of the really good movies come from, because it challenges the director. They told Peter Bogdanovich that The Last Picture Show couldn't be made into a movie, and that's what made him want to do it.
Yeah, now look at, The Last Picture Show is known as one of the greatest films of all time, so obviously it worked out. I mean,
I saw a review on this, or a short video, and they said this movie just changed cinema because it's going to force the sci-fi movies to step up their game.
yeah, it really is. And I've been seeing crazy reviews like that on Letterboxd, like stuff like that. Like, this is gonna, change cinema. And then when I first watched this film, I'll admit, and like, this gives more credit to the film as well. When I first watched this film and saw those reviews, I was like, it was a great movie, but it's not all that. Like, it's not all that. And then after a week of watching videos on it and how it was made, and seeing people's opinions, and some people even liked it less than me, and then like taking their issues with it into account, and then going back in last night and watching it again, and like looking for flaws. I was like zoned in. I was looking for flaws this time. I was like, I'm looking for all of this. Like, if there's an issue here, I'm gonna find it. And I could not. Like, at the end of the movie, I was like searching. I was thinking. I was like, when we went to the, it's a long movie. You got to pee afterwards. I was sitting there at the urinal thinking, staring at him, just trying to think of anything, any issue with it. And I was sitting there thinking about it before I recorded my re-review. And I was just like, is there any issue? And then I was like, can't think of anything. Like, it's a perfect film to me. And like all those Letterboxd reviews, it's like, oh, these people are crazy. I now am part of those people. Like, I'm on the hype train now. I joined into the hype. So much so that I'm actually thinking about buying the books and reading them, and buying the 2 art books, which would be $60 for both books. And like, I don't even read. I haven't read since high school. Okay. I don't even know how I graduated.
To read.
Yeah, I don't even know how I graduated college, because I never read anything. When they told me to read stuff, I just Googled like the summarized version and the cliff notes. Shout out SEMO. Still got my degree though. But I can say that now that I'm graduated, I guess. But I didn't read anything. Like, and the fact that I want to read something, and like I want to read the making of how they made these movies, is another testament. Like, I think this film will inspire people to want to make movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, me and you, we already want to make movies, so we already have that bug bit us. But I feel like this movie will be some people's film that they watch and they're like, oh my God, I want to make something like this. I want to make.
I can see that.
Like, I feel like it could do that for somebody, where they'll look at it and they'll be like, this blew my socks off. How can I do that? I want to do that.
That's,
And
that's that's what happened to me when I saw John Carpenter's Halloween. I said I want to do that. What that guy did. Like
yeah, and
this is definitely a movie that ticks all the boxes of cinematography, direction, editing, effects. I mean, this is a good starting point for people that want to tell a story visually to study this.
yeah, and there's been a meme about Denis Villeneuve. He goes around talking about visual language. There's been like a meme the way he says visual language and his accent, but he's very much about storytelling through visuals. Like he said, his perfect movie for him. He said the perfect movie for him that he wants to make is a movie with no dialogue. That's how much this guy loves visual language. And like, I think you need dialogue in films, obviously, because I'm a big dialogue guy. I love films with good dialogue. So, I don't really subscribe to that idea that that would be the perfect film, is a film that could be told just through facial expressions and all that. But you can tell that he tried his hardest to make this movie with the least amount of dialogue as he could, and it still be great. Like, there's
Sounds like he was influenced a lot by Hitchcock because Hitchcock, same way, storyboarded everything, and he always liked using pure cinema, what he called it, where you can tell something without dialogue. You can just show images to get your emotions and your ideas across. So I'm sure he was influenced a lot by Hitchcock, as all of us are.
yeah, I don't think there's a filmmaker that isn't influenced by Hitchcock. I know Denis is influenced by Kubrick too. Like I could see that Kubrick is a very visual person, uh, and yeah, like this movie is told so well through visual. Like we were talking about, just Zendaya's face, just facial acting, just scenes that I mean, some scenes that absolutely trump like these huge, like you would think of these iconic dialogue scenes of like, oh, you broke my heart type things, and like romantic movies. Just her reaction to the Paul picking the princess is better than most of that. Just showing
Show
her
don't
reaction.
show don't tell. That's the golden rule of filmmaking.
And this movie is just like a great example of show don't tell. It
Hmm.
really it really is. And that is crazy to think about when this movie has tons of lore. The books are like long, like there's so much like dialogue and stuff to be said. And like it's crazy that this movie can get across all of its ideas, all of its themes, all of its messages, while also being so visually stunning and not being so exposition heavy, dialogue heavy, setting up everything. It has great humor without trying. The comedic timing is perfect. There's some scenes that like people laughed out loud in the theaters both times I watched it. And like with especially it's Javier Bardem just kills it. And Stilgar. And like it's so natural. Like it's not even set up like a joke. It's not like, oh, that happened. That just like it's not like they're winking at the audience. It's just natural comedy.
Hmm.
And like yeah, like this made I don't want to sound like a crazy fanboy just stroking this movie's ego or whatever, but it really is a cinematic achievement. Like it's I
Yeah,
mean,
well done, Denis Villeneuve. We don't get a lot of good movies anymore, so well done for doing one.
yeah, hopefully I need some good movies. There's some good movies coming. Shout out to Adriana, by the way, just carrying the chat. Buy the books. I will. I think I probably will. I think I'm going to do that. But yeah, just absolutely just crazy. There's just so much. So
You're
much.
you're talking about people laughing in the theater. How many times did I laugh every time Christopher Walken came on the screen?
Yeah, Christopher
Like
Walken.
every time.
He's the emperor and he's a perfect emperor.
I
And
just look at that guy and break out laughing.
we were just even quoting your father, and then he finally
And he said it.
he says it in the movie. Your father was a weak man.
And I did the DiCaprio meme. I go, oh.
There it is. He said it. Yeah. Walken is also in this film. Great performance for what he has. let's see, Florence Pugh, Rebecca Ferguson, great as the mother. Who else is Austin Butler, great villain. He's really becoming a good actor. He's really going to be an actor to look for. He gets a lot of hate for his Elvis voice, saying, "Oh, he's just Elvis. He just does the Elvis voice." He was great as Fade Rutha or whatever Rutha in this movie. He's great as, I mean, he was a great villain and great performance. And like, yeah, Stellan Skarsgård as the Baron, always great. I like Walston's reaction to him. He's like, "Why is he so big? Why does he look like that?" Talking about the bit, the floating guy.
Oh, the dude I was glad when they killed him.
Yeah, great practical effects on him though. Great makeup on him, because that's Stellan Skarsgård, and he's not a big guy. So like, great practical effects on him. And CGI, they obviously probably use CGI, but great makeup effects for him for sure. And I mean, everything down to the production design, the costumes, everything is just so important. And like, I love how the importance of like, yeah, you get put in the world of Fremen like Dune, and like where somebody cries, Rebecca Ferguson, she cries, and Javier Bardem takes her tear and then they drinks it basically, because like, and this water's so sacred to them, they don't want to waste anything. Like when they kill people, they take water from them. Like that's how they get their water, with those machines. And like, but at the same time, they have such a good conviction to their people, that they have this gigantic pool of water that's just the souls of people. And like he said, we'll never drink out of this, even if we're dying of thirst. And like they set this thing up. It's just it's this quick scene, but then when later on it gets bombed and you see all these rocks falling in on it, you're like, oh, that's because you're like, oh, that's the sacred water just being absolutely destroyed right now. Like, it sets up everything so well with that. And I'm trying to think what else.
One little tidbit I loved is when they went into the room with all the missiles, and Josh Brolin takes this little orb and throws it, and there's a light, and it's like 3 or 4 lines, but the light makes a perfect square. And when it turns, the square of light go, and that was just such a beautiful visual thing they did that I thought was really innovative, that I had never seen in a movie before.
Yeah, just the way they use the sci-fi technology, it's all looks good, but it's all practical in some way. Like their suits, their water suits in the desert. Like I said, the way they extract water from people, don't want to waste water, the importance of it. It's just, everything is so well thought out. There's not one little detail that is not thought out in some way. It's not just a simple thing. Everything is so layered. And like, if I explained this movie in one word, I'd probably say layered, because I've said that word probably 30 times during this podcast. But it's true. It is so layered. Everything has so many layers to it. It's not just surface level. Like Paul's motivations, his mother, Fade, the Emperor, just like everything has layers. The religion, everything has dimensions to it. And like, this movie isn't anti-religion whatsoever in its themes. It's just saying, be careful of following a false prophet of who you follow. Religion can take people in a dark path, and it can cause problems like holy wars and stuff if it goes too far. But then it also leaves a case out there that maybe, faith is all some people have at the end of the day. So like, it does both sides there. It touches on both sides perfectly. Like, it touches on these very hard subjects that we all have issues with discussing with people in today's society, religion, politics, etc. And it touches them in such a poignant way where it's just so carefully just extracted. Like the script is just perfect. And yeah, this film. The more I think about it, I'm just like, oh my gosh.
It flowed really well. The story did, and the way they shot it and cut it and all that. It
Yeah,
had a good flow to it.
the first time I watched this, I thought the pacing was off. Like the first time I watched this, I was like, when is this movie gonna end? I was like, this movie felt like 6 hours, not 2 hours and 46 minutes. On this rewatch, it was a breeze.
Mm-hmm.
It was a breeze. It was 2 hours and 46 minutes, but it didn't feel like that to me. It felt like about two. It was a breeze. It really the pacing was a lot better. Like I said, I don't know. I guess I was in a bad mood when I watched it last weekend or I was stressed or something because my rewatch, so much has changed for me on this movie on my rewatch where I'm like, I can see it now. It's like I finally like opened my eyes. Like I see the light. Like I know when everybody
You
sees
drank the worm piss, and now you
I
can
drank
see.
the water of life. Exactly. I wish this soda was see, this is me. If only this soda was the water of life. And then I could see multiple futures.
Yeah, but you die first.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have a beautiful Zendaya to put her tear in my mouth to bring me back. That sounds weird, but that happens in the movie. So that's not me coming up with a weird fantasy. She puts a tear in Timothée Chalamet's mouth. So before anybody calls me out on that, happens in the movie. And God, I'm just thinking about that one time I think you were on the podcast when we talked about my Oompa Loompa fetish. Was that?
Yeah, I was sadly here to witness that.
That still haunts me. I'm like, you know what? I'm like, that's on there now. That's on there. That's on there forever. Like that's on the internet forever. Is my Oompa Loompa fetish will be in the annals of history forever. Like it's good. It's there. Even if it's deleted, somebody could have kept it. I mean, it's there.
Notice how I'm a lot more reserved on these podcasts than I am in real life.
Yes, and I mean,
I'm censoring myself to an extent.
I'm proud of you. Thank you for censoring this, so I don't get canceled with you. And but I mean, still James right. Look, James is in the chat. Well, hello, buddy. Still a weirdo. Yes, I am still a weirdo, and I would love Zendaya to put a tear in my mouth to bring me back to life. I'm drinking Worm's piss, and that's okay because you know what? It happens in Dune. If it happens in Dune, it can happen in real life. So I don't know where I was going with that. I just brought up my Oompa Loompa fetish again. See, that's why I need Deontay here to be running things because
where's his ass at?
If you have me in charge of running everything, I'm going to run this straight into the ground. It's going to be a catastrophe. Apparently, he's still at his dinner. It's being held up.
Where's he eating at?
I don't know. They had Cape Anime Con today. Shout out to, by the way, well, actually, today was the last day for that. But, so I guess you missed it. But there was Cape Anime Con this weekend. So, yeah. And Deontay was there representing us. And that's why he's showing up late. He may not come now. I don't know if he's coming or not. He hasn't responded, but he's been working on that all weekend. So if y'all went to that, I appreciate y'all for going to that and supporting SNN if you saw Deontay there. But yeah, Oompa Loompa fetish. It'll always be there. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, well, you're going to have to watch all of them, because I'm not even going to say what episode it is. If you want to know, you're just going to have to watch every single podcast episode. Every single one. And give it a like. Please. Like all of them. Subscribe. Please follow me on TikTok. Follow me on Instagram. By the way, I'm grinding on there. I'm about to 120 followers on Instagram. I've gained more followers in the last month than I've gained in the last year. So
it's all your fellow Oompa Loompa fetish people.
You know, I wish so somebody could understand me, because nobody understands me in my life. And with the Oompa Loompa fetish. And you know what? That's okay. And I'm not gonna go into what. It's not anything sexual, by the way. If anybody's watching this, like, oh, this guy has a weird little history. It's not anything sexual. It's just what I said about my Oompa Loompas. All right. By the way, I still haven't seen Wonka, so I mean, by the way, was the Oompa Loompa good in Wonka? If anybody has seen Wonka, put in the chat. How was the Oompa Loompa in the new Wonka? That's all I care about. I don't care about Timothy Chalamet's performance. I don't care about that movie. I just want to know if the Oompa Loompa was cool, you know? God, you know what?
Yeah.
But what, you know what? I'm just making a bad case for myself. Okay,
should we talk about the movie we're working on, or wait later and let you keep talking about your Oompa Loompas?
let's steer back into the Dune world. I'm trying to think of anything else we can, because I want to cover everything here. Because I'm just like, man, I love that movie. I'm just trying to think of everything I loved. I should have wrote stuff down, but like I said, this is off the top. This is two dudes chilling 3 feet apart because they're not gay. That's a Vine reference if you haven't seen it. But we're just two 20-something-year-old dudes chilling, talking about Dune. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna sit here and Google what his influences were, because I still see a lot of David Lean in that movie.
We have been talking about the movie for the last hour. Maybe if you join like a real fan, James. I'm only talking to James this way because he's an actual real friend in real life. I would never talk to one of my loyal followers in a rude way. I will if you guys ever want to approach me or see me in public. If you saw me in public, you'd actually probably scream and run. But I'm Slender Man. I look like a Slender Man skeleton boy. But yeah, if you ever see me in public, say hi. Be like, hey, you're Jacob's Film Perspective. Be like, yes, I am.
Got my keyboard over here sideways.
I was called a ding dong. I just got called a ding dong.
Oh.
Well, you just have to wait on that. You're just gonna have to watch, because we're talking about Dune. That comes at the end. This is a Dune episode, not a Jacob and Lawson plug their work.
Okay, we don't need his influences are Stanley Kubrick, Alfred Hitchcock, the Coen brothers, Paul Thomas Anderson, Ridley Scott, Jean-Luc Godard, and Steven Spielberg.
Seen all their films but Godard, so.
Yeah, Godard, I haven't heard good things about.
He did Breathless, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
I've always heard that movie's pretentious.
He started the French New Wave, but I definitely saw a lot of Hitchcock as far as the preparation, but I saw a lot of David Lean, so that surprised me. He's not on there.
Yeah, because even I haven't even seen Lawrence of Arabia, but he had to have been inspired definitely for sure.
David Lean did Epics.
OMG, this cute little group of kids just episode. Oh, you're talking about the Anime Con? Yeah, that was this weekend. No way, because I saw some of them Oompa Loompa profile pics of Oompa Loompas. Huh?
Don't get him started.
Yeah, don't get me back on that. By the way, no, I'm not even gonna say that. But yeah, so yeah, he had to have been inspired by Lawrence of Arabia somehow.
To say David Lean's in my top 5 favorite directors, and his movies, he did epics, and it felt a lot like Dune. Of course, I don't think Villeneuve will ever be on David Lean's level, but it just had a similar feel as far as the epic scale, the beautiful cinematography, and all that.
Yeah, because Villeneuve will pass David Lean. Shots fired.
Yeah, he can get fucked.
I haven't seen David Lean, so I don't know. I haven't seen any of David Lean's films, so I can't say that.
I'd like to think I have decent taste. I mean, I told you to watch Cinema Paradiso for 2 years now, and you finally broke down and watched it.
Yes, and now it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me cry like a little boy. Cinema Paradiso. Shout out Cinema Paradiso for that. Fruity, I don't know what you're talking about.
I knew you were a little fruity.
You talking about Lost in there? Yeah. But me, no. I like women. Do women like me? I don't know. Probably not. But let's go. Let's move on. Zendaya put a tear in my mouth and bring me to life. But no, this God, this is what happens, Deontay, when you have me run it. This is what happens when you have me run something. But yeah, I'm trying to think.
I'm looking at some pictures from Dune from the '80s just to see how similar it is if they took anything from that.
Yeah, Dune from the '80s is interesting for sure. The stuff I've seen on it, but I was going to talk about cinematography. Greg Fraser. Finally, I've loved this guy since I watched when I watched the first Dune and I saw director of photography Greg Fraser. I was so excited because I knew he was going to be the director of photography on the Batman, which came out like around 6 months after the first Dune came out. And then I saw the Batman, and as my loyal people who follow this channel know, the Batman is my favorite film of all time. The cinematography makes me want to scream and cry because I love it so much. But anyway, this man is right there with Roger Deakins as the best cinematographer working today. I know Roger Deakins is kind of not working anymore. I think he may be working a little bit, but like he's getting old. But this man could take place as the greatest cinematographer of all time if he keeps going at this rate. Dune, the Batman, Dune Part Two, the cinematography, everything they do. There's one shot when Zendaya takes out the chopper with her, it's basically an RPG. When she takes out the chopper and you just see her running and you see the explosion come down in the background, and it's not even in focus. You just see it come down. And it's her running. That's such a great way to like shoot that. It's such a non-stereotypical way to shoot those things. Like,
The close-ups in this movie are beautiful.
Yeah, like
it's really great close-ups.
Most people, like when they would shoot this, that explosion would be forefront in the frame. It would be there. But a lot of this movie, a lot of the explosions are shot from way far away, or they're in the background and kind of fuzzy, out of focus. And just a god at cinematography. You want to talk about a messiah? Greg Fraser at cinematography is just insane. Like, he is what I want to be as a cinematographer. That's why I only get those Art and Soul of Dune books, because it goes into like how they did the cinematography. Like, I just want to study. I just want to know how they shot this film, because like I would love to learn how to make a film look as good as this film. Like, I would love to be a cinematographer on that level, because that is just, this movie is just every scene of this quote has been taken before by multiple people on YouTube, but I'm gonna regurgitate it here. Every screenshot from this movie could be a framed picture, and that is so true. You could frame any shot from this movie. That's how beautiful it is. It is honestly one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. And that's saying something. I've seen a lot of movies. And yeah, Greg Fraser, shout out to him. Underrated cinematographer. Nobody talks about him. I mean, cinematographers aren't really talked about in the first place, unless you're Roger Deakins, and that's really the only one that comes up usually. And they need more love. Shout out to cinematographers. They need more love. And Greg Fraser, you are the man. I mean, I am so excited to see what he does next. Anything he was a cinematographer on something else, and I literally watched the movie just because I saw he was a cinematographer. I forgot what the movie was or what the plot was, but I saw he was a cinematographer. I was like, I'm watching that. Like, that's the only reason why I watched the movie, and I've never done that for a cinematographer before. So, yeah, I got like a cinematographer crush for that man. I mean, like, that is probably my favorite cinematographer right now after this film. He was already getting there, but I like him better than Roger Deakins. Sorry, Roger Deakins. I love you too, buddy, but Greg Fraser, come on.
The talk about people that are so talented. Hans Zimmer for this. I mean, he he took the number 2 composer of all time spot away from John Williams in my mind for
That's
this
a
score.
hot take, but a right
He
take.
he's done Gladiator, he's did Interstellar, Lion King, Thelma and Louise. He's just done so many, and this might be one of his best scores he's ever done.
I agree.
That
I
just
think it
that
is.
really blew me away.
It is definitely one of his best scores. Like I love this. I will listen to this score probably for the next few years. Honestly, there's a few songs I just wanted, like when I was doing my promotion for this podcast on Instagram. I used 2 different songs on my Instagram stories from the movie just because I want to use it as much as I can. I want to listen to it as much as I like. It is so good. And like I said, like you said, this man did The Lion King. He did Interstellar, which a lot of people say are his best. He also did Inception, the Dark Knight trilogy, which is my favorite trilogy of all time and one of my favorite scores. I mean, this man has done so much, and the fact that this man, I mean, Hans Zimmer, you legend, you king. Like, yeah, Hans Zimmer, he's getting there. For me, he may be my number 1. I know you like Ennio Morricone, but Ennio Morricone, but I think I like Hans Zimmer a little bit more. But that's just me. But yeah, he's my favorite. John Williams always be a legend for sure. Jurassic Park, Star Wars. What else?
Jaws, Indiana Jones.
Jaws, and yes, I mean, whew, that's a tough one. I'd say John Williams is my second. He's got to be.
Nobody will ever be Ennio Morricone in my mind.
I love Ennio Morricone for the Thing score for sure. Shout out the Thing score, underrated score. Nobody talks about the Thing score. Shout out. I love the Thing score. And yeah, like just this movie, man. This movie right here. Dune Part 2. This is cinema. Martin Scorsese would love this. This is what Martin Scorsese is talking about when he says cinema. Jacob, stop lying. What am I lying about, sir? But I'm very truthful. Talking about my Oompa Loompa.
Here we go again.
I love Dune, man. I want to immerse myself into the Dune world.
I'm looking at some screenshots from the 80s version, and a lot of the stuff looks a lot different. About the only basic thing is they use the exact same effect for their eye color, and they have the deal that goes in their nose. But like the fat dude looks totally different.
Yeah, he's disgusting in that
It
80s
looks
when he
like
got like oils on his face.
it looks like when they're riding the worm, it looks like a bad green screen effect. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever watch this one. 'Cause I don't think it'll do it as good as
Do you know how
this
does it say
movie.
how long it was?
Let me see.
I'm just interested in how long it would be. Because if it's like 3 hours, I don't know if I can stand that movie for 3 hours. Huh. Okay.
Or it's 137 minutes, so 2 hours and 17 minutes.
Oh shoot, that's short. That's not. I might check that out. I could give 2 hours 17 minutes to David Lynch for Dune. I might. If y'all have seen David Lynch's Dune, comment down below. I know some people say it's a cult classic, so I don't know. I know it bombed. They've made like Funko Pops of it though, so it must have some kind of following. Like a lot of people talk about. I know Sting is in it as Fade. Sting plays Fade, which is nuts. But
Kyle MacLachlan's in it. Patrick Stewart.
yeah, Kyle MacLachlan plays Paul. The girl that played Blade Runner. The girl in Blade Runner. What's her name?
There's a Francesca and Annis. Is that her?
No, Sean Young. Sean Young. She's in Blade. She's the replicant in Blade Runner. She plays Chani in it.
Okay.
Arrow has a
Brad
great
Brad Dourif's in it.
Arrow has a great restoration of it. It's not awful, but the visual effects suck. Okay. So it's not awful, according to Wishing Wells Motion Pictures. Shout out to Adam, Wishing Wells Motion Pictures. By the way, he has a film coming up that he wrote. Film he wrote coming up, coming out. Aroma TV. Shout out to that. Be on the lookout for that. I think that's the name of it. Sorry, Adam, if I just Aroma Vision. I'm sorry, Adam. My brain is crazy. Aroma Vision. Definitely check that out. Go like that page on Facebook. Follow them everywhere you can. Aroma Vision. It looks like just the logos he sent in a chat and everything he's told me about it. It looks like it's going to be a great short. So definitely shout out Aroma Vision. Wishing Wells Motion Pictures, Adam Smith, writer. Just be on the lookout for that. They have a whole Facebook page. I definitely recommend you go follow them right now. Follow their Facebook page. And yeah, Aroma Vision is just Black Mirror meets Twilight Zone. Yeah, from what he told me, it's going to be a pretty trippy short film from what it looks like. It has great. If we're talking about cinematography, the cinematography on that looks great, Adam, by the way. Shout out. The lighting and stuff on that film just looks awesome. But yeah. So Arrow has a great resume, but yeah, I heard the visual effects. I heard that basically I heard that the shields they use, like in the new movie, the shields they have to protect themselves from getting stabbed. They have a shaky shield or whatever. You saw when Fade had it it was more prevalent in the first movie, but you saw it in the Coliseum when Fade had it. He turns it off.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a little shield they have turned on where it kind of helps them from getting hurt. The one in the 80s is basically it looks like a Minecraft block. It's rotoscoped or whatever. It's so bad. But we were talking last night about where Dune 2 was filmed. Dune 2 was filmed. Principal photography took place in Budapest, Italy, Jordan, and Abu Dhabi. So
Jordan's where they shot Indiana Jones 3 with the deal at the end carved in the cave wall. That's where they shot that at.
So I'm guessing Abu Dhabi and Jordan were most of the desert scenes. Budapest and Italy, I don't know what those were for, but apparently, I lied. Dune Messiah, Denis Villeneuve is said to be nearly finished with a script for a potential Dune Part 3. So everybody that's been hammering for that, we should be getting that sooner than I thought. And he also said, though, that'll be his last one. Dune Messiah will be the last one he directs because they get more esoteric, as he said. And apparently I've heard the books kind of go down in quality. I haven't read them. If you've read the books, let me know in the comments. But yeah, he's going to be done after this one. And that makes sense because usually, once they get into more sequels of books, I bet it does go down in quality. So yeah, so it's going to be a nice trilogy. It's going to be a great. It's going to be. I think a trilogy is what it should be. Just a great, solid 3 films, like the Lord of the Rings, the original Star Wars, Indiana Jones. Well, Indiana Jones was before trilogy, Dark Knight trilogy. All those. I just saw Dune Part 1 last night for the last time. You want to see?
I'm reading the Wikipedia trivia on this thing. It said that Skarsgård guy, his body makeup took 8 hours to apply every day.
I could see that. That man's MVP for that, sitting in a chair that long.
Said he didn't drink anything and took pills in order to avoid having to go to the bathroom.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's dedication.
Going to see part 2 this. Yeah, you're in for a treat. I hope you didn't get a little. Hopefully, you just joined, so you didn't get spoiled for a lot of this because we say a lot of spoilers in this. But yeah, you're gonna absolutely love. If you like the first one, and even if you haven't liked the first one, because Lawson's only seen the first 10 minutes of it, so they still love it.
I'll be right back. Hold on.
Just joined. Boring part of the Oscars right now. Aren't the Oscars always boring though? Shots fired. Shots fired. I'm just kidding. I want to win an Oscar someday, so I can't say anything. But yeah, the beautiful beaches that were in the film. Gosling is about to. Oh man, you know, guys, I love you guys, but Gosling is about to perform "I'm Just Ken," and this podcast is cool and all, but that's gonna be cooler. So leave me and go see that. You can leave us and go see "I'm Just Ken" because I'll watch that later. That's my boy. Shout out. I'm trying to see. So yeah, 190 million. I mean, shot in all these crazy places, and still cost 100 million less than most MCU movies nowadays. That's just crazy, man. Come on. And they have a stat cast too. Like, you can tell everybody that wanted to be in this movie wanted to be in this movie because, like, with that stat cast, they probably could have made more money. They probably didn't get paid as much as they probably could have if they were like an MCU or something. So, like, shout out to everybody who worked on this film, the cast, all the way down to the costumes, the production designer, the makeup, the personal assistants, even. Shout out to them. I mean, for bringing the coffee to Denis to keep him going, for making this great movie. Like, shout out to everybody. Like, literally, this film is such a cinematic achievement. I mean, I'm trying to think of anything else I want to add while I'm thinking. Is there anything else, Lawson, you want to say about it?
I think I've said everything I can about it.
Yeah, I mean, it gets to a point where, like, there's so much on film Twitter about it and so much on YouTube that I've watched where I'm just like, yeah, I mean, there's only so much we can say about this film. And I'm trying to think of anything. I talked about Zendaya. I talked about how great she was. Best role by her by far. Timothée Chalamet, best role by him. Can't wait for the third one. We added some facts in there. Great cinematography. We talked about Greg Fraser. Shout out to him. We talked about the score, all the storytelling, the epicness of it. And I mean, really, this is a movie you need to go see. Like, we could sit here and talk about it all day, but really just go watch Dune Part 2 is the message for that. And with that being said, I think Dune Part 2 is done. And I think we're done talking about Dune Part 2. We can wrap up here, talk about a little stuff that's in the works for us, for Lawson as a filmmaker. What you got going on?
We're in the pre-production stages. I've actually been typing up a script past several days of doing a camping comedy. And my friend Tony Lawson wants to do a Bigfoot comedy. So it's going to be almost a throwback to Abbott and Costello type movies. And we have Tony Lawson, Byron Cherry from the Dukes of Hazzard is going to star, and we're going to have Mountain Man from Duck Dynasty do a small, and Jake's going to play a small role in it too.
Me.
So
Watch it for me.
We're pulling from the Three Stooges, Abbott and Costello, all the way up to Leslie Nielsen and the Naked Gun, and it's just going to be it's a funny script from what we've all been, everybody that's read it. So we hope to shoot that in the fall and get it out as soon as possible after that. We'll be available, I think, on YouTube's how we're going to do it. We'll sell DVDs and things like that too.
Yeah, and I mean, I mean, I'm gonna be in it. So Jacob's film perspective is gonna be in it. So I mean, that's pretty big. I mean, screw these other guys. I mean, I'm gonna have the scene Mountain Man Duck Dynasty. Jacob's film perspective is more like it. I mean, but yeah, I'm excited. Lawson's bringing me on as assistant director. I've added a few writing credit, I guess, and acting, obviously. Hopefully cinematography, maybe. We'll see about that. But yeah, that film's gonna be great. I'm excited to work on that with you. I mean, that's all I got going on too. I mean, also, I guess all I can say is my buddy, and Hot Take Nick, as we call him here, he wants to get more into filming, and he supposedly wants to interview me about Jacob's film perspectives, and just to make a little video. He's interviewing a few other content. I guess you can call me a content creator. I hate using that; it seems so pretentious, but I am in a way a content creator. So there should be an interview with me about how I started this or whatever. I mean, a lot of it goes to Deontay Saturday Night Nerds. Man, I can't believe Anime Con took him out or he couldn't be here, but screw you, Anime Con. But no, I'm just kidding. Anime Con's pretty cool, I guess. I have been, but yeah, I'll be interviewed there. I know Deontay is actually working on a short film he wants me to be a part of. Nick said he might have a film in process that he wants me to work on. So should be helping on a few films, honestly. And I mean, I've obviously been writing a film since over a year, but I'm doing this film with Lawson first to get more under my belt before I tackle my own directorial debuts. But yeah, so I'm not just an internet hack that doesn't know anything about filmmaking that just sits and rants about movies. And I'm not saying any names, not taking shots at anybody, but there are some people on the internet, on YouTube especially, that have never even tried to make a movie, don't know what it's like, don't know how hard it is, and will sit there and review movies and just trash on them, say the filmmaking's terrible and this is terrible. And I'm not saying, because I love football and I've never played football in my life, but I love football. So I'm not saying you can't criticize film if you haven't done it, but I'm saying I feel like some people don't understand. You can criticize, but some people don't understand how hard it is to make a film and how much work and effort. I mean, me and Lawson both know it. We've both been in the trenches. We both know what it's like. It is so hard to make a film, and it's so much work, and it's so exhausting and tiring. And sometimes it's just like, man, what are we doing? But what are we doing? What do we do? And I don't know what that impression was, but it's just.
I think Stanley Kubrick said that trying to make a movie is like trying to nail Jello to a tree. But then once you get it right, there's no better feeling in the world. I'll second that.
I completely agree. And in a full circle way, that's what makes Dune Part Two so amazing, is just the fact that somebody made this film. I can't imagine the effort when I think about just every shot. Oh my God, I know Denis Villeneuve, that man was putting in the hours. And Greg Fraser, the cinematographer, the actors, shout out to all of them, because they were all putting in hours to make this great film. And I mean, that's really what I want to, I guess, end it on is this is a great film. Go watch Dune 1 and then it's on HBO Max right now for free. And then watch Dune Part 2. But go see Dune Part 2 in theaters if you can. I know times are tough and stuff, but if you can, Dune Part 2 is definitely worth the ticket price. It is such a masterpiece. It is a gorgeous film, great cinematography, great themes. I mean, like I said, layered. I could go on about it for hours, but you don't want to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. Not even myself. So With that being said, Lawson, you got anything else you want to add?
Go check it out. It's a damn good movie, and I don't think you'll regret it.
That's what we're gonna put on the poster when it comes out on Blu-ray. Is Lost in Thresher, a damn good movie. But yeah,
That's right.
but yeah. So yeah, go check it out. Dune Part Two. Let's go. I thank you guys for watching, and I think I guess I should give you an update on like when I'm coming back because it's been 2 months. I disappeared for 2 months. I'm sorry about that, y'all. But the reason why I was gone for 2 months was because movies have not been that great. If we're just being honest with each other here, and I feel like I would like to feel like we're all friends in this space. Okay, you all are my friends. Come on, give me a hug. Okay. Did I push boundaries there? I'm sorry, but I would love to hug you all. But anyway, yeah, and like there have been no movies. Like there hasn't been a reason to make a podcast. That is why it's taken me to March, mid-March almost, March 10th to make a podcast is because this is the first big movie of the year. Like we had Night Swim, Lisa Frankenstein, good little cult classic, Argyle. Actually, Argyle was great, but like I got to it too late. I watched it too late. So it was too late to do a podcast. It wouldn't have been relevant. What else came out this year? I can't even remember.
That one we saw last night.
Oh yeah, Imaginary. Imaginary, that's a fun little that was a fun little horror film. Go check that. That's another thing. Go check out Imaginary. We watched that. We did a double feature last night. We watched Imaginary 2, a new Blumhouse. I know Blumhouse is scary. And Blumhouse, I'm sorry for all my. Actually, I'm not sorry for how I went on Exorcist Believer. I'm kind of known for that now. I am the Exorcist Believer hater. I feel like I'm known for that in some circles. Blumhouse probably has a target on my head, and that's okay because that movie is terrible, and I will always say that movie is terrible. And that movie makes me want to puke. But Imaginary is actually a pretty fun little horror film, and they swung and took a lot of risks. And they didn't all pay off. It's not great by any means, but it's a fun little horror film. So go check that out. And what else come out? Oh, Madam Web. Madam Web. Well, there's been enough talk about Madam Web on the internet. I don't need to dog that movie anymore. What else came out? Miller's Girl. I watched. Jenna Ortega film. You know I watched that. Obviously. Because she's a great actress, duh. But anyway, just that was a good film. Miller's Girl was pretty good. What else did I watch? I'm missing something here. I watched Madam Web. What did I watch with Madam Web? I watched something else with Madam Web. Help me, Lawson. You wouldn't know.
Yeah, this is the only movie I've seen this year.
Shoot. Hold on, I'm going to my page. By the way, follow Jacob's Film Perspectives on Instagram. Shout out to that. I've been posting reels like a baller. No, that's it. That's all I've seen this year. Okay, so I did cover it all. Look at me. I'm proud of myself. So yeah, literally no films have come out this year besides now Dune Part 2. I think films are starting to come back. There's a new Ghostbusters this month. I'll probably I know Lawson won't see it, but I will probably be seeing that. That'll probably be the next podcast is talking about Ghostbusters. Maybe that may be on the main SNN podcast. I may be a guest on there and talk about it that way, or we may do the episode on here. I'm not sure yet, but there will be a podcast coming soon. Promise it won't be 2 months again. I know everybody missed me. Daddy's here, and Daddy's going to kiss the boo-boo. I am back. I'm back. I know y'all were worried, and you're like, where's the next Jacob's Film Perspective podcast? I need to listen right now. I'm here. I'm here to deliver. I am your entertainment. I'm here to torture myself for your entertainment. I watch terrible movies sometimes for your entertainment. But yes, that's all I got to say there. It's going to start getting weird if I keep going on. It's been getting weird. Dune Part 2. I don't know how. Yeah, he said good movie. That's going to be damn good movie. It's going to be on the Blu-ray. Lost in Thresher. Mark that. Go watch it. Yeah, that's it. Peace out.